So I'd like to start by thanking SAGES for the invitation to speak, and specifically Dr. Matthew Dong and the organizers. It's a very important session, and I'm excited to hear the rest of the talks as well. I have no financial disclosures, but I will say that I was actually carded at the door because I'm not a millennial, and they said I was born 2 years later in 1981. So hopefully the rest of the session is relevant to me as well. So. Hashtag travel goals, that's my topic today. And since I'm not cool enough to call myself a millennial, I consulted Google regarding your generation's travel goals, and my search turned up this. And while I'm repeatedly assured that millennials prioritize adventure and experience over stuff, this small vessel happens to have 500 square feet for storing toys like jet skis, snowmobiles, helicopters, submarines, because, what's the point of tweeting your adventure if you can't do it in style? And while it's fun to imagine your next super yacht vacation, I would argue that the more valuable travel goals are the ones where we take minimally invasive surgery to resource-poor areas across the globe. So to that end, I'll structure this talk around 3 simple questions: why global surgery, how to get plugged in, and what next? So first, why global surgery? So for me, there's actually 2 reasons. Number 1 is the need, and number 2 is my faith. The first, the need. So the WHO considers 1 surgeon for every 20,000 people to be adequate surgical coverage. You can see from this Lancet study that the vast majority of the world actually has no access to surgery, let alone adequate access. When we zoom in on sub-Saharan Africa, 93% of people do not have access to safe surgery. The surgeon to population ratio is 1 to 250,000 people in the good areas and 1 to 2.5 million people in the bad areas. So now you're thinking, okay, this is overwhelming. What's the point of even trying? So assuming we put our yacht traveling goals on hold, how can we, or I as one surgeon, address this seemingly insurmountable crisis? So I'll do my best to answer that question in the next few minutes, but I have reason for hope. And so recognizing this need for surgeons alone didn't compel me to action. So actually, as a Christian, the fundamental teaching that says when someone has been given much, much will be required in return. And when someone has been entrusted much, even more will be required. That's been my motivation to serve in this way. I've been given so much, the opportunity to work with and learn from dedicated teachers who share their knowledge and skill set with me. So this realization motivates me to offer my time and energy and to expertise to those in need. So if you're also motivated to share what you've learned and address the critical shortage of surgeons, let's get to the next point: how to get plugged in. So undoubtedly, traveling off the beaten path to work in an unfamiliar place and an unfamiliar culture can be daunting. But this is actually not something you have to do alone. There are solid organizations out there that have earned the trust of local populations, gained the support of local governments, and have even forged ties with the existing healthcare there. So I think partnering with an organization like this allows you to leverage your time so you can focus on surgery. So I'll highlight 2 organizations that I've worked with in this regard. The first is called the Pan-African Academy of Christian Surgeons, or PACS. It was founded in 1996 by Dr. David Thompson and this group of long-term missionary surgeons. During his time in Gabon, he recognized that simply having a surgeon do work and finish and then leave could only be a temporary solution. So he dedicated his next portion of his career to this 5-year surgical residency program, modeled after our own residency programs here in the United States. So that the goal would then be that they would graduate and teach and train on their own on the African continent. So PACS now has training sites all throughout Africa, and to my knowledge, it's the only organization of its kind. If anyone was at the Marx lecture, somewhere where you would be trained, retrained, and sustained, something that was sustainable. So this slide now shows the projected growth of trainees who will ultimately be practicing surgeons in areas of significant need throughout the continent. So by 2027, the graduates will be over 200. I first visited PACS in 2005 as a I had a little more hair, medical student, fourth-year medical student, and then I returned in 2012 as an MIS fellow at Cleveland Clinic. And on that trip, actually thanks to the support from SAGES, I was able to introduce the FLS program into their residency program. I also used Google to translate it into French there as well. I went again in 2014 with a medical student, and again in 2017 with one of my colleagues here teaching the didactics of FLS. So definitely check out PACS's website to see the work that they're doing. The second organization is Jeon Co, which is a nonprofit founded by my good friend Afam Onyema and his family. Their mission is to improve the lives of those in Nigeria, where despite being the largest country on the continent, poverty is rampant and access to basic health care is limited. So in 2018, I led a team that launched a minimally invasive surgery program at a teaching hospital. Here at Cleveland Clinic Chief Resident Charlotte Horn is presenting a poster. She's presenting a poster here, so I'll put a plug in for you to check that out and talk to her about integrating this into your residency. So the work being done by these two organizations, and many others in fact, illustrates that you don't have to tackle this huge problem alone. There are great people out there already working on this crisis. So despite all the negative press, I think the needle is moving, and I'm actually honored to play a very small role in that. So my time is nearly gone, so I'll end with this last question: what next? So first, do your research. Figure out what type of organization you would like to partner with. If you want to do surgery, you have to make sure they are set up to do so. There's a lot of great organizations out there, but many are not equipped to actually do surgical missions. If they are equipped, what type of cases are you going to be expected to handle when you're there? Is it mainly orthopedic trauma, or do they have access to minimally invasive equipment? If they don't have access, can you bring equipment? And on a side note, MedWish, which was founded by Lee Ponsky, is the organization that I use to stock up on materials, and so a great one if you're going on a trip. So after you've done your research, make a plan. But I think it's important to realize that this takes about a year. It takes 1 full year to put something like this together. So don't try to rush it. You go in unprepared in that regard, and it can be a disaster. So finally, you can either go and make sure you use the hashtag travel goals on your Twitter feed, or if you've listened to this or you realize that now is not the right time, you can do work from home. You can support financially, you can donate medical supplies. There's currently a huge need for those laparoscopic training boxes that may be collecting dust in your house, and if you have them, get them to me, I'll get them to these guys in Africa. And you can even use the hashtag couch goals when you do that, so that we know. So in the end, I'll use this map. I put this map up that hangs in our home office. We pin the places we've been as a family, and the saying on the bottom is true for anyone with travel goals, and that's: one's destination is never a place, but a new way of seeing things. So I'm happy to take questions at the end, so thank you very much.